It was just a normal day in the digital world. Rosemon was at just normally doing some training by herself when she did hear some sounds behind her. And in fact, when she quickly turned around, she saw it was actually Rafflesimon, who was standing behind her, and she quickly asked her if it's something she needed or if it's something she wanted. At first, Rafflesimon doesn't even respond back at all until she says that she believes that she is a good fighter and that she liked to want to see how she would able how to handle her in a fight. And of course, even Rosemon who said, well, I normally don't fight others like for entertainment. Seeing it as a match. Sparring match? Are you sure you will be able to handle me? She said. Even though Raphael Simeon thought maybe that Rosemont was quite a little bit a tease, but she said, yes, I will be handle you quite well in a fight. Oh, you think so? Well, let's prove it then. And they both decided to at least 1 hour long of fighting. Despite all of this, Raphael Simeon and Rosemont was actually both equal strong fighters, but they had no idea who or which one of them would be the winner. Even both of them would do anything, and I mean anything to be the winner. They would try to do anything to win. But after 2 hours of constant of fighting a sparring match, Rosemont was getting tired, but she saw that Raphael Simeon was also getting tired because they were like equal strong in this. But Rosemont, she would not give up hope to be the winner. So she tried to at least one more time, and she was easily defeated by Raphael Simeon, even though Raphael Simeon didn't even laugh at her. She instead said that she was a very good talent opponent in a fight, and she was factually quite skilled. And if she wanted to improve her skills, she would be allowed to be. They should probably do some more sparring match from time to time to like improving Rosemont's attacks and fighting skills. Even though Rosemont herself was not much as expecting that proposal from Rafflesimon, but she accepted the invitation to be as a sparring match teacher or something like that. So for next several months, Rafflesimon and Rosemont in fact were training and fighting against each other for sparring match. But first, Rafflesimon became as her teacher in like how to improve her speed, her strength, and agility to being a fighter, and also try and improve her skills. And for the next couple of months, it actually somehow made a lot of improvement to Rosemont. And even though that Rosemont many times has said that she's ready now to show that she is ready to fight Raffle Simeon. But Raffle Simeon said that she wasn't even ready until she believes she is, or at least she decides herself if she is ready to now for a rematch in a sparring match. Even despite that, Rosemont was getting tired of believing that Raphael Simeon was never going to be taken out this going to tell saying now she's ready for a rematch. Even though that for next another more 2 months of training constantly, they traveled to different parts of the Digimon world. They try to that so Rosemon could take an advantage from the different environment in her fights. That was something Raphael Simeon did train her to do. Despite that, Raphael Simeon was starting to like her a bit more and more each time for the past few months that she had been training Rosemon. But Rosemon had no idea. But after the almost 6 months of being training, constantly. Rafflesimon one then said, "Now you're ready for a rematch." They went back to the same location where they had the first sparring match. And of course, Rosemon was now equally ready to prove she was ready. And now she hopes that she will be able to win. And in fact, they fought against each other in a sparring match for nearly 3 whole hours. And for the very first time, Rosemon was actually the winner of this sparring match. And even Rafflesimon laughed a bit and said that she really had improved her skills and fighting skills. She even said, "Well, it seems the student outmatched this teacher itself. I'm impressed. Now you're willing to will be able to defeat any obstacles or threats that threaten you." Even Rosemont said thanks, and when were about to leave, Rafflesimon thought to herself, "This might be the last time that we will see each other." So Rafflesimon stood up, even despite she felt weak and almost a little bit dizzy or unbalanced. She stood up anyways and told Rosemont there is one more thing she wants to tell her. And even though Rosemont was only had been taken maybe as 10 to 12 steps away when she turned around and saw and asked what it was. And Rafflesimon actually admits that during the 6 months of training her to be a better fighter, she has started to fall in love with her. That Rosemont really surprised, that even shocked. But Rosemont herself was not even expecting that, especially Rafflesimon would have fallen in love with her. She asked her first if this was some sort of joke, because she didn't like to being joked at like in that perspective. But she shook her head and said it wasn't a lie or even a joke or even a prank at all. She meant every single word. But she even said that she knew and would understand if she would even date her or be with someone like her if she doesn't have the same feelings toward back with her. And of course, even though Rosemont was and respectively wasn't even very much had even considered any first. But she said even that if she had opportunity, she would have been able to do so, but now she was just surprised. And she wasn't even sure how to respond to all of this. But even Raffle seemed to believe that maybe she didn't want to have anything to do with her or some sort of a dating emotions. As she was about to walk away when Rosemon ran up to her behind her and said, "If you want to date me, I would date you." That surprised Rafflesimon, who slowly turned around despite the pain she has in her body. And Rosemont said that she would date her and actually leaned forward and kissed Rafflesimon on her lips. But even after though, when they shared the first kiss, Rafflesimon actually felt somehow relieved that Rosemont wanted to be with someone like her, and they decided maybe they could be together, even despite some of the differences. But they decided to at least wait to do their go on their first date, since Rafflesimon needed some time to heal from her injuries during the fight they had. So Rosemont took with her to some place where they can both relax and allow that so Rafflesimon could heal. And after about a couple of days, she was at full recovered from the fight and sparring match they had, and they decided to go to this lake that was nearby to have the first date. Even despite though, they had no idea what to do. But after they start talking and just enjoying each other's company, that was enough, especially for Rosemont. But after a while, they were actually talking to some of their close friends from there, and when they mentioned that in fact Rosemon and Rafflesimon were now being a couple, they were expecting some other Digimon monsters wouldn't been accepted. Even despite that they were first did even believe that any of their friends would support their relationship. But they were just happy that they had some sort of relief that their friends were in fact supporting their relationship. Even though after all this time, Rosemount felt she had finally found that the right Digimonster to be with as her soulmate. But there were some times where Rosemont and even Rafflesimon actually sometimes were considered maybe she wasn't supposed to be with her. Well, that was before when they started dating, but after realized how much Rosemont meant to her and that how much he loves her back, means they were meant to be. Even at first, there were a lot of questions in their minds like, is this going to work? Or is this going to just be some sort of a short term relationship? But despite all the things that happened, all their minds, their thoughts about it, but it worked it out perfectly. After that, Rosemont and Rafflesimon had been together for about nearly 5 years. They both decided they wanted to be forever together. So they had on some sort of a ceremony that was very similar to a wedding on Earth. After all, both Rosemont and Rafflesimon had actually been observing some of the human customs on Earth, and they decided maybe it had something like a wedding, but at least they had promised each other that they would always be there for each other. But that despite that happened, their love for each other had only grown stronger for each single day. Even there were a lot of things that came to Rosemont's mind, like, will this ever work? Is this going to be a short term relationship? Or. But she stopped thinking about that after that she realized how much Raphael Simeon meant to her. Raphael Simeon actually did love Rosemont more than anything in the whole digital world. But after considering how much they meant to each other, they decided that they should be maybe start a family at some point. Even though despite there were a lot of things that both of them didn't know was at least going to work. So they decided to adopt an orphan Palmon as their own child. And they managed to find an abandoned young Palmon, and it really loved to be adopted by two Rattlesimon and Rosemon. And after all, they trained their own daughter to be strong in fighting, but also really cared about her. This is really how much Rosemon wanted to be with someone like Rafflesimon, and even the same thing. And now with they having a daughter of their own together, it was something that they could never expected to be with. But they really loved their daughter, and their love for each other went beyond the Digimon world and even beyond that. And this is how Raphael Simeon and Rosemont found a true love, got a family together. The end.